Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And I'm going to start it off with an article from Iran, INTL.com. I think it means Iran International, titled, U.S. deploys 5,000 Marines, sailors to Mideast, which is really Western Asia, to expand options in Iran war. About 2,500 additional U.S. Marines and 2,500 sailors are deploying to Western Asia as the war in Iran continues, NBC reported, citing 3 U.S. officials in a move aimed at expanding military operations for commanders in the region. And, if you've been paying attention to news sources outside of mainstream or American sources, things aren't going, good at all for the U.S. military. Damn near all their bases have been struck in the region. The official death toll of soldiers now, at least by mainstream, is 13, while they have, I think, 200 wounded. Though, with international sources, it's between, this is what they're saying, 500 to 1,500 casualties. Iran just sank a U.S. warship. A bunch of Arab countries are getting struck. Oil plants, desalination plants, different centers, civilian centers, which some of them have been found out to be hiding, military assets. And of course, the land of Israel has been getting hammered. And all these things are just, stepping stones towards the finale, the War of Armageddon, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat in Joel chapter 3, the main and final confrontation of World War III. I did a video the other week where some U.S. commanders were telling their soldiers that they're going to be fighting in the War of Armageddon. Well, hey, they were at least right on that. And as we're going to read in this article, 5,000 Marines and sailors are being moved into the region to further augment, the U.S. forces that are already there, which plays into biblical prophecy. Part of the plan for this war was to have Marines available to provide options for use. A U.S. official was quoted as saying, "The personnel form an amphibious ready group and Marine expeditionary unit known as the ARGMEU," the report said. The Marines belong to the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, based in Japan, and the Marine Corps' only permanently forward deployed MEU. These units are trained for rapid crisis response operations, including evacuating civilians from dangerous areas and protecting U.S. embassies. They are also designed to be among the first forces on the ground, capable of securing areas and preparing them for follow-on missions by other military units such as Special Operations Forces, which, information has come out that a decent number of U.S. Special Forces have been captured by Iranian forces. The sailors are assigned to the Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group, which includes the USS San Diego, USS Tripoli, and USS New Orleans. The ships had recently been operating in the Philippines Sea, but are now moving west toward Western Asia. According to one U.S. official, the deployment was requested by U.S. Central Command to ensure Marines are available as commanders weigh potential next steps in the conflict. And hey, going forward, things are just going to steadily intensify as we get closer and closer to the war in Armageddon, the war of Armageddon, a cyber attacks, sleeper cell attacks, all these things coming down the pipeline, and a U.S. draft, will be instituted. You've already got these soldiers being moved there, but it's going to get so intense that they're going to need even more warm bodies as, casualty rates increase, which, with the selective service registration, it used to be that, every male when they turned 18 would have to go and register or face, felony charges. But by the end of this year in December, they're going to make it automatic again. So between now and December, a lot of things could happen, just in time for that December window to where males 18 years old, are automatically registered to get to fill those boots and put those boots in the ground over in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. But I'm going to go to Joel chapter 2, verse 20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, the North American army, the U.S. military, the Army, the Marines, as we're seeing right now, the Navy as well with those sailors, the Air Force, etc., and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, like a desert, Western Asia, the main staging ground being Saudi Arabia, with his face toward the East Sea. And when you look at a map of the Middle East, to the east, what do you have? The Persian Gulf, and above that, Iran, and a little further down, the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently closed. And what, if it remains closed, is going to further play into these crises to come, economic turmoil, high gas prices, high product prices, which we're slowly seeing steadily creep up. And, to the northeast, you have the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which in Revelation says, the Euphrates would be dried up so that the kings of the east could move their armies into that region, which, the Euphrates River is seeing historic droughts and levels decreasing. And his hinder part, or behind him toward the utmost sea, the Red Sea, which I was watching a video earlier where a guy was saying that since the Strait of Hormuz is closed right now, you've still got Saudi Arabia with ports to the Red Sea to, move things around to get them out there, through the Arabian Sea to the Indian Ocean. But what he was saying is that Iran could call on the Houthis in Yemen to block that off. Just choke points everywhere. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things, a great slaughter of U.S. military personnel in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Hey, if you're a soldier that finds themselves in the Valley of Jehoshaphat for the War of Armageddon, hey, come to terms with that being your final resting place. As some of those U.S. commanders were telling their troops, hey, you're going to be fighting in the War of Armageddon. But this brings me to this clip, which has been making the rounds on the Hopeful Elect 3's YouTube channel, titled "Man Shares Vision of Men Shortage During World War III." Salakia. And we know, as it says in Joel, which I just go to the chapter, go down to Joel chapter 2, verse 28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Israelites, or you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the heathens as well. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. So you got, young men, young women, old women of all nations out here seeing visions of what? World War III, nuclear destruction, the things to come, which is exactly what's going to be spoken of in this clip, where this guy's going to explain how, in his vision, there was a lack of men due to the war. Hey, them getting drafted to go fight over there. And as we read at the end of Joel 2:20, their ill savor and their stink shall come up, the great slaughter. But this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
I have to tell you guys about a dream that I had a long time ago because I feel like it's about to happen. So basically, how it started was I was in a vehicle and I was driving around the city that I live in, and it was completely dark. The vehicle that I was in was like my real car, a small sedan, blue, right? So I'm in this vehicle driving around, and I get to my aunt's house. She lives in the nice on the nice side of town, and the moon's full. It's not really windy night, but it's just completely pitch black, dark out, right? So I walk up to my aunt's house and I knock on the door and I look around and I realize that there's literally nobody here. And as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I realize that I'm literally the only guy in the city. And I don't know how, but somehow it was communicated to me by God telepathically, not a literal voice in the dream, that some major war had popped off and that there was no men in the city, right? So as I get told this telepathically, I head back to my car. And when I'm in my car, I'm holding a baby. And while I'm holding this baby, I look over and this girl that I know that's in the army appears in the driver's seat. And she's holding a baby as well. And I don't know if that was God showing me that this has to do with war, because I don't really think that this girl was, specifically means that she was going to stay behind with me. I think it was more symbolic because she was in her uniform. And me and this girl were driving around the entire city holding these babies, realizing that we had a big burden to take care of these babies and that there was no men left in the town. And somehow I had the privilege of not being sent off to war, but that meant that I had this huge responsibility to take care of these babies. And this girl that was with me was completely silent. She wasn't speaking like she normally does. She wasn't talkative. She was stern and she was firm. And remember, she was in her uniform. So fast forward, and I forget about this dream, right? Well, today, my cousin, who is a huge Roblox nerd and really doesn't care about the kind of stuff, this kind of content, doesn't really watch like apocalypse, end of the world movies. He just cares about Roblox, right? And he designs software and all this. Anyways, he tells me that he has this dream where he sees me in the city that I'm in. Mind you, he lives in Omaha. I'm in a different city. He says that he sees me and we're standing outside of this care center, which is like a boys and girls home or a Critton center, which is basically a school for troubled kids, right? And he says that we're standing there, and then these guys that are overweight come with, you know what, boomsticks, and they try to attack us. Well, he says that me and him are standing there fighting them, and somehow they're chasing us, but I think he said that we get their boomsticks away from those guys, and we end up winning this engagement, right? Well, he says that as we're running down the streets, he notices that he sees our family and that there's literally no men in the family left, and that there's no men left to protect the women. There's no men left to protect the kids, the girls, nothing. And that it's just me and him. And as soon as I heard that, I instantly thought of the dream that I just told you guys about. And the reason that I'm telling you this, guys, is because I don't know why, but I feel it in my spirit that they are about to pull a draft over the entire United States when this war with Iran kicks off. You have literally seen nothing, bro. And I'm telling you that I genuinely believe that a draft is coming. Whatever happens, do not believe their lies and do not sign up to fight these wars, guys.
Because that's going to be all she wrote for you. But what he said perfectly lines up with prophecy. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16 in the Apocrypha, verses 33 to 34. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Women mourning because what? They don't have any men. Why? In the wars. War with Iran, World War III, the War of Armageddon, shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their stink shall come up, and their ill savor shall come up, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And, the men, a lot of the men that are still in the country, perishing of famine, getting killed in these race wars, civil unrest, martial law, these pestilences, all these calamities of Jacob's trouble. And at the end of the day, the only men that are going to be left standing are the men of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, those men that are out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this. This is Isaiah chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 25. And this is directed at you Israelite women, which, and, here, really the women of the southern kingdom, the so-called black woman, the Indub, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. But really, all you tribes are about to, face this reality. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war, whether it be on the streets of America or especially over in Western Asia, that land barren and desolate, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground, because she has no bridegrooms, no man, no helper, just a lack of men out here. But Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1, and in that day shall 7 women take hold of one man. And 7 just means, completion. And that one man is ultimately, a man of the Lord. As it says in Isaiah 13, I will make a man more precious than the gold of Ophir, because the men of the Lord. And as we get closer and closer to the end of this thing, we can see more and more who Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is dealing with. The men of GMS, a great millstone. The men of, and Abarat Dazah, I'm of this elect number. The men of the Lord's light is going to shine in that day. And, as it says in 2nd Esdras 16, then shall it be known who are my chosen. Like in the book of Eli got in many desperate situations, but the Lord got him through it. And then eventually, Mila Kunis followed after him. Well, that was a visualization of Jacob's trouble. And as we, heard in that man's vision and read that article, everything is gearing up towards a draft and many more men getting sent over to, their deaths in Western Asia, leaving all these women behind, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Hey, to you sincere Akim out there, we can see Isaiah 4:1 come to pass, quickly. And, there'll be a lot of women coming your way. There's going to be a lot of women saved, but there's also going to be a lot of more women rejected, cast aside. So, hey, from the, Israelite man to the Israelite woman, prepare yourself accordingly. We are quickly coming into Jacob's trouble, a time like no other. But that's it with this video. I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.